We are living in the age of legends in distance running, and I hope you aren't missing it. Faith Kipyegon may not be close to breaking 4 minutes in the mile yet, but she is still setting world records year after year. Add to that countrywoman Beatrice Chebet, and you've got an amalgamation of excellence that is still only scratching the surface, and we're only talking about this weekend's results.
The latest from the world of running, brought to you by AtoZrunning. I'm Andy.
And I'm Zach.
I have a big update.
It's time for Andy's big update.
I feel like it's big because, as many of you know, if you've carried on with us for years, I had hip labrum repair 3 years ago, and I've had some other injuries that have come from that after getting those repaired. So I am running again, which is like fantastic, and I love running. Yep. I can't say that I'm training necessarily, but I am building very.
Of course you're training.
It's not specifically geared. It's just I am running and I'm building my musculoskeletal resilience. That's what I'm doing.
By definition is training.
Okay. Thank you. And I have actually gotten to run a race that was very, very special to me. I had the opportunity to run with my team Triumph, and I got to run with one of my best friends in the whole wide world. I got to push her, and her name is Janelle, and she was my first friend to ever qualify for Boston. We were teammates in college together and ran even after college, and so it was really special to get to run together again. She was hit by a car while running in 2018, and we haven't run together since. And so my team Triumph made that dream.
Because of the extent of the injury.
Right.
You should note that.
Yeah. And yeah, my team Triumph made our dream come true to get to run together. That was really cool.
So what's the plan? I mean,
well, we would like to run more. She's a marathoner, and so she's like 5K. That's child's play. So we had fun, but I agree. We want to go further. So we're dreaming. We're looking at some races. I have some suggestions out to her right now, actually. We're not really sure what's next.
You don't want me to say it, do you?
No.
Okay. All right. There's more. But Andy doesn't like to speak goals out loud because it makes them real.
I like to hit one goal at a time instead of looking too far out. So.
All right. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, just now everyone listening knows there's potential for significant pursuits.
Well, it was in and of itself was an exceptional experience to be able to have together, and then my team Triumph embracing us as they did and helping us make it happen. Major props to them. As
Nybor's prayer states, one moment at a time.
One day at a time. Mm-hmm.
So here we go. Exciting things ahead. At a minimum, something interesting and new. And Andy is fully engaged and doing things like running a 5K on a Friday night and then running a 5K in the very next morning on a Saturday morning, both of them for my team Triumph, with helping push for some captains.
And also working on some of my upper body strength.
Well,
so that's new.
Gonna need more of that.
Yep.
Than normal as a runner. That's good. That's good. So we'll be sharing about that. And as you know, we like to try to keep you apprised of the oddities here at AtoZrunning and what we're doing training-wise.
How about you, Zach? You had a pretty big last couple of weeks.
I did?
Yeah.
You had mean like all the 5Ks?
Zealand Zoom.
I'm just running all the local 5Ks.
And then
what
Johnny's run.
So June and July for Zach almost always is like just playtime. And so I just run all the races I can and all the strange, obscure things. 5Ks are not obscure, but there's like the Magic of the Mile in town here, which is a 1 mile race on the track, and that's awesome. It's really good.
It's in a couple days now.
And I, in the past, have done a road trail sand race, which is exactly what it sounds like. I won't be doing that this year, but that's another example of obscure things that Zach does. There's races that have 5Ks and 10Ks, and I try to run them both if I can, do the doubles, all that kind of stuff. It's just
so there's one we did on 4th of July as well, and we did that as a family.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, and my boys ran a full 5K. I got to run with them, and I was really proud of them because it's hard work.
Yeah.
It's hard work, and it was hilly, and they did great, and I was proud
Personal
of them.
bests for both.
Personal
Although
bests.
it's their first time running a 5K that was officially timed. But we did time the one that wasn't officially timed that they ran 6 months ago. So this is faster.
So there's a lot to be enjoyed too, and Zach won't tell you, but with the 3 that you did in the past 2 weeks, you're 3 for 3 as far as wins go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So playtime for June and July, and keep in mind where we're headed here, at least for Zach's training at the moment too. The marathon project in December is the big focus right now, and you could say timing wise, it doesn't make sense to start a build up for that at this moment in time, which I kind of like because it just gives me a chance to do these fun things and just kind of enjoy a bunch of different racing. But right round about August 1st comes around and we get serious about some marathon prep again. And not that I'm not serious about marathon prep in general, but it's going to be fun.
We're
going to be talking
always
about
training.
we got goals, we got plans. The question becomes in the fall, what races to run in preparation for marathon project? And we have not made those decisions fully yet. So more about that coming soon. We also did just commit to a race next June, which we'll
By
be talking
we, he
about.
means he has.
Well, I did, but we committed in the
as a
sense
couple
because
we're going to go.
there.
Yeah.
And that's exciting. It's a new race. It's only in its 3rd or 4th year, as far as I'm aware, and it's going to be an interesting one. So we'll talk about that too. Anyone who's looking for a new destination marathon that you haven't done before. All right, more about that later. Don't forget to stick around after the main topics for today for our AI trivia segment, where we ask the AI to give us trivia questions about some topic, and then we see how many of them we can get right. We always ask it 3 questions, see how many we can get right, and we're keeping score. And we still haven't decided. We have to decide what happens, like 1st to 10, right? And then something has to happen.
I don't know.
I think it has to be. You have to you have to buy me something, or I have to buy you something.
How about I interview you?
No, that doesn't make any sense.
If
Nobody
I
wants to hear
win,
that.
I get to interview you for the podcast.
Nobody wants to hear us
let
interview
us
each other.
know.
We're already talking to each other all the time.
Let us know. I don't know. There's a lot to be known about you.
No, but
So.
this needs to be a recurring prize because it's going to happen every 10 points.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about it.
Maybe it'll be. I have an idea. I'm saying this on air on purpose because Andy's getting put on the spot. Maybe it'll be a mystery running gift that you have to open on air, and just try to be like as obscure and goofy and off kilter as possible, but it has to be running related gift.
Interesting.
And there has to be a price limit because you can't just like spend crazy amounts of money for no reason.
Okay.
All right, there you go, folks.
Interesting.
We're gonna decide what happens, and it's the loser has to buy the winner something strange. Okay, maybe we'll see. All right, let's talk about Prefontaine Classic.
Y'all are excited to hear about it. Now, I know some of you didn't get to see it. We actually watched it, but it's behind a paywall. So those of you who normally geek out might have not had the ability to geek out this time. So you can geek out with us now.
And you can catch the highlight reels and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So Diamond League Circuit in the United States is currently streaming only on FlowTrack, and FlowTrack is a paid service. Many parts of the world it's free, and many other parts of the world it's via whatever their paid service. Like the BBC has the iPlayer thing that they have now, and that's like a small subscription fee. So depending on where you live and where you're listening to this, you may have been able to watch.
Well, it's a big one because it was the 50th anniversary of the Pre-Classic.
Yeah, which just meant that they had a cool color scheme. The Pre-Classic is always a pretty
They should have given him more money.
highly branded event because it's Nike's headquarters.
Mm-hmm.
It's essentially Oregon's stadium. Nike's headquarters are nearby, and so Nike always goes all in on this one.
Let me just say, I am glad and impressed that the stadium was full.
Just sold out crowd.
It was a beautiful sight, and it was on U.S. soil. So all of you from around the world, they're like, man, people in the U.S. have got to get their spectator game together. We did for this one.
This is like the only meet in the United States that you can get a really good crowd. And so I'm glad. Yes.
Yeah.
There was lots of energy, lots of excitement, and a lot going on. Just incredible performances everywhere. So we're going to share only the distance events with you because, things like Mondo Duplantis attempting the world record in the pole vault again, all this kind of stuff. But we can't cover it all. Valerie Allman continuing her win streak. Tara Davis Woodhull continuing her win streak. There's just so many good things, but those are field events and they don't matter.
They do.
Oh, sorry.
He's teasing. Of course, we're actually highly intrigued by them.
All right. Well, we don't have the time of day to spend on everything that happens in track and field, but at least the distance events, because these are the best. So let's talk about the men's 10,000 meters, because it wasn't a diamond event, which means it's not part of the league circuit, and so it's not a scored event for the league points.
Or televised.
But it's still happening. Yeah, it's not part of the main streamed coverage, but it still is part of the pre-classic meet, and in particular was significant for two reasons. One, because it's super competitive. It's about the fastest 10,000 meter non-championship event of the year. And two, because it's the Kenyan national team selection event, which is kind of weird because the World Championships are in September. And so it's
kind of
a
early.
little bit early for a team selection, but it's the 10,000, and they do that. That's pretty normal. 10,000 selections.
When's the U.S. Championship?
August.
That's later than usual.
Right, because World Championships is so late.
Gotcha.
So that's true for most things. Even like the Kenyan national team selection and all the other events is not until August. That's true for most things because you don't want to select your team so far in advance that the athletes aren't in like prime shape anymore.
Yeah.
You don't know exactly whether they're fit. So when you do it about 4 weeks, that's usually the gold standard, by the way, 4 weeks before, 4 to 6 weeks before competition, gives the athletes time to recover well, but not lose their peak fitness.
Sharpen up a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, they can be ready for both. Well, here we go. This is the Kenyan national team selection event. And while it's not the Ethiopian national team selection event, it probably also was that.
Well,
let's say why. Because
looks
of the
pretty
results.
good for the Ethiopians.
Yeah, not surprising here. The current challenge for Kenyan distance running in the 10,000 meters is that they have not had a podium finisher in over 10 years in a global championship at the 10K.
I was surprised too.
Really significant. I mean, that's quite the drought. So now the question becomes, is there some talent currently that may be possible? You've got Edwin Kurgat, who trains in the United States for an Under Armour group. You've got Ishmael Kipkurui, who is the recent NCAA champion and NCAA record holder, just signed with Nike, so now he's pro. He's no longer in NCAA. He spent his
Probably
1 year.
Probably a good call for him.
Yeah. I mean, World Under 20 XC champion and other things. So he's already got a great track record, and he's young, and he's fast. And others. Is it possible? Is this the year? So this was a chance to kind of show what they've got. For some reason, the pace lights for the event were set at world record pace, which is 26:11. Nobody knows quite why, because no one was going to try to run the world record in this race. And yet, that's what they did.
That's a really interesting thing.
The Pacers went on world record pace for 3K, and the field went with them. And as soon as the Pacers dropped out, everyone slowed down, because they really weren't going to actually try that.
Especially because it's their championship, too.
For the Kenyans, it was their championship. For the Ethiopians, it was like, why would we do that? We have no reason to run that hard right now. And
well, if they don't think that they're in shape to do the record,
who knows, right? Well, the race came down to attrition and a really strong final lap, and once again it was the Ethiopians who dominated. So even though it's the Kenyan national team selection, the Ethiopians swept it. 1, 2, 3.
It's unsurprising though,
especially when you hear who the names are.
Tell us.
Biniam Maheri won the race. His alleged age, I say alleged because people never quite know the ages, and there's been a lot of rumors of age cheating lately. But either way, he's a teenager, potentially still 18 years old, wins the race over veteran champs Barry Huaragawi and Solomon Barega, two of some of the most legendary distance runners of all time.
Yeah.
And Maheri, the youngster, outkicked them. It was a smidge. It was a very, very
tight.
Slight. It was 0.02 of a second between Aragawi and Maheri. And then Barega was less than 0.3 behind them. And so really tight finishes, 26:43 and 26:44 for the three of them, which is just very fast running. And then the Kenyans were just a tad off Edmund Kurgat was the best of the Kenyan contingent in 26:46. So right there. Ishmael Kipkurui ran a new personal best, 26:47. Remember that he set the collegiate record, then won the NCAA championships. Now he's running even faster as a pro athlete officially. And then Benson Kiplangat was the third Kenyan across the line, 26:50. All three of them in personal best times. So they're on top of their game. But can they find a way to beat the Ethiopians? Is going to be the big question and the big ask come September. So for now, the assumption is that Kurgat, Kipkurui, and Kiplangat are selected for the Kenyan team.
They seem like solid people to choose.
They're good choices. All three of them have been consistent and strong. But even if they end up with taking an alternate or something of that nature, you had Stanley Mumburu in 26:56, also in a personal best. So 4 for 4, the first
Personal
4
best,
Kenyans
yeah.
across the line, personal best. So they were ready for it. We're just
Yeah.
saying something. All right, let's start now with the diamond events.
Yep. Starting with the women's 800. And it was an interesting race because some of the people that were touted as possibly being the favorites going in didn't have a great race. So
Most notably, you're dodging the
well, this wasn't necessarily expected to have. I think Mo was not necessarily expected to have like the race of her life, but you thought she might be in the mix a bit, and it was just clearly not the right time for her debut in the 800 for the season.
stating it gently.
Well, it was just not her. It was not. She's not sharp. She struggled. It looked like in the closing, which is unusual for her. So, anyway, I think Mo ended up with the caboose.
Being the caboose. Ended up with the caboose is kind of an odd.
Well, I mean, like if you're
visual.
imagining riding a train, she was the one at
Not
the caboose.
helping.
Okay. Well,
What
anyway,
they were
that's
saying, because I think Mo, this is her first 800 since the fall at the U.S. Olympic trials last summer. So it's been a bit. She raced other things this spring to kind of, I guess, we know what it is. Part of the challenge is she is very uncomfortable in close quarters with other athletes. And so the 800 is always a tight race, always a lot of jostling, because you're going basically as fast as you can, and you're trying not to run extra distance. And so you're trying to be as close to the
Well,
other
and she
runners as
has
you can.
some personal terrible experience when she fell at the
Yeah.
Olympic trials and then wasn't selected for Team USA.
Well, and she was tripped up in an earlier round in the 800 and just managed to keep her feet, and then was tripped up again and fell. It's just like, clearly a little bit of trauma around that reality too.
Right.
But
she was like way in back. And part of it, I think, was that she wanted to be so out of trouble that she put herself in such a deficit, and she just was not in shape to close it.
not only starting too far back, but also running pretty far to the outside the whole race.
So
And
extra
she
distance.
just was running extra distance the whole
Yeah.
time.
And then Mary Mora, she struggled, and she's one of the favorites. So
Has been. It
Yeah.
certainly is not at the moment as this season goes, on account of just generally struggling. But
there are three.
some of the big name favorites who are looking good this season showed up yet again. And you had a triple under 158, which is always a strong showing, led by Ethiopia's Sige Duguma. And then in second, Prudence Segediso of South Africa, tying her personal best. So she's in top form. Segediso has looked better and better as the season progresses.
That's true.
She started decent and has now just continued to shine. And so that's looking good. And then you have Halima Nakai of Uganda, who, recall, she's the 2019 world champion. It's been a bit since she's been really on top of the game, but she's looking like her former self right now, which is always exciting.
Yep. So these are the leaders of the Diamond League too. So they've been doing really well. So when I say I'm surprised, it was more a personal surprise, maybe, because I always expect Mary Mora to like be in the mix, and I thought Thing Mo maybe coming back would have a little extra special something. So
Yeah, so historically the big three have been Athing Mo, Mary Mora, and Keely Hodgkinson.
Yeah.
Hodgkinson's still injured, or at least still coming back from injury. She
Yeah.
has not yet raced at the global stage. Mary Mora is running, but she's kind of inconsistent right now, and that may be from an injury that she hasn't fully returned from or something of that nature. It's hard to know.
And Gemma Riki's moved up to the 15. It seems
For the most part,
like
yeah,
she's mostly doing 15 now.
Although, I don't know. And Georgia Hunter-Bella, again, could come back down to the 800. She's competed in the 800 a few times this year and looks strong. So it's kind of wide open. That's the big question mark right now, because even though Duguma wins most of the races she runs and Segediso is looking better and better as the season goes on, you have other factors who just aren't showing, just aren't racing it, every single time there's an 800. And
there's some collegians that are looking good too.
Yeah, that's true. So who knows?
Who knows?
All right. Well, let's talk about the women's 5,000, which was next in the event, in the meet, I should say.
And this one was teased. It was a very exciting event because it was touted to be a world record attempt.
Not surprising after Beatrice Chebet attempted the world record some weeks ago and missed it only by 3 seconds.
Yeah. Well, this time it was all in. Beatrice Chebet, as she had missed it, of course she's going to be on. She's going to be on it as long as she possibly can. This time, though, she had to run alone.
She did not.
Oh, she didn't have to run alone. She didn't.
Last time, she had to run alone because no one was with her. There's the Pacers and then Chebet by herself.
Oh, yeah.
This time she
that
had
made all the
company.
Difference. Yeah.
Until the last 150 meters, she had company.
Right.
Which is really cool.
And this is what it takes a lot of times. The current world record holder, Gudaf Segei, was one among her company, and then the other was Agnes Negedic, their road 10,000 best. They don't have a world record, but
no, they do.
Why is it called the best then?
I just said that. I just wrote it weirdly. Sorry. Okay. My notes are strange sometimes.
Yeah, it's okay.
And even others. It wasn't just those three at the early stages of the race. So we get a mile into this race, and they're on world record pace. And I'm looking at Andy, and I'm like, there's no way. There's a bunch of women who are running way too fast right now. And then part of me is like, but maybe not. But no, they were running too fast. And they paid for it later, except for these three. And that's where things got exciting.
Yeah. Well, Chebet, I felt like Chebet looked really good. And then I thought that Segei looked really good. Negedic looked like she's struggling, but she hung on so hard.
She always looks like she's
struggling.
struggling.
And she kept the contact. I have to say, that was a very valiant effort. And I think that all three of those women, that combination of ladies was what pushed Beatrice to the...
You're giving it away.
Oh, well, they already know because we teased it in the very beginning.
That's true. Well, so here's what happens. With a lap to go, Chebet starts accelerating finally, and Segei trails her. Negedic struggles a bit to maintain contact. Segei trails her to the point where, with 200 meters to go, Segei starts making the move like she's going to go for the pass. And it's like, here we go.
Here we go.
You all thought it was a Chebet show, but Gudaf Segei is trying to put her name back down. She is obviously the current world record holder at that moment in time. Well, Chebet suddenly just fired these afterburners. Like, it switched from I'm running a distance race to I'm a 200-meter sprinter. And it immediately, and it just crushed Segei. You could just see it. Like, she went from looking like she was driving to just looking like she was jogging.
Well, she just knew.
She just shut down.
And I said to Zach when we were watching it, I was like, Segei is such a competitor that it's really hard for her when she knows she's not going to win to follow through with her best to the line. I've seen it happen before with her. So
Chebet finally caught the pace lights just in the last 100 meters and set a new world record of 13:58.
What?
Already the first woman under 14 minutes on the roads. Now the first woman under 14 minutes on the track as well. How about that? And by the way, Agnes Negedic hanging on and keeping it close ended up running the world number 3 all-time in 14:01.
Impressive.
So good.
We'll tell you how impressive the last 200/400 of Chebet's race was later, because we have something to compare it to.
Yeah, right. Very fast, very fast. Okay, so, and the rest of the field didn't show up until 26 seconds later. Yes, Chebet was lapping, in fact, world-class runners.
World class.
Which is just really crazy. This event, by the way, was a national team selection event for Kenya, yet again, for the women in the 5,000. So is Margaret Akidor, who is the best of the rest and the third Kenyan across the line to technically qualify for their national team, although Kenya will potentially always reserve the right to offer a spot to someone else. The way they do it tends to be 2 people are for sure guaranteed, and then the third may come from other options.
Faith Kipyegon if she wants to double or something.
Well, yeah. Kenya also gets 4 spots.
Oh, because they're the champion.
Well, no.
Is that right?
I'm trying to remember who was the defending world champion. I know that Chebet is the defending Olympic champion, but that doesn't count for this summer's World Championships. But I thought it was Kipyegon or Chebet who won the 5,000 last World Championships.
Or
Can't
was
remember.
It
It might have been Sige. Either way,
maybe we'll find out in the trivia. That will be one of the questions.
Kenya's third was 14:30. There were 17 women under 15 minutes in this one race.
That's
17.
So fast.
That's incredible. All right, let's talk about the women's steeplechase next, because that was the next event in the series. And once again, everyone showed up. I mean, we're getting Prefontaine Classic was just like a featuring of the cream of the crop. Like, who are the best runners ever in these events? And you're going to get to watch them all go at it. And that's what just happened yet again in the steeplechase, because here you have world number 2, Winfred Yavi, world number 3, Peruth Chemutai. You have current dominating world leader, Faith Chirodich, and a world champion in Nora Geruto. I mean, you've just got everybody. What is it? European record holder, Alice Fino. I mean, really. Collegiate record. I'm just going to keep going. Collegiate record holder, Pamela Koske, who just broke the NCAA record in the NCAA championships. Like, unbelievable talent in this one race.
Yeah.
And we speculated, well, at least I did, last time I was talking about the women's steeple, that Faith Chirodich might just be unbeatable this season because she's just been taking it to everyone. All the names I just listed.
And her face is like super calm when she's doing it.
She's just running so well. But now the next question is, Faith Chirodich has been winning races, but what happens in a world record attempt race? Because that's what they did.
Fast race, yeah.
Here.
It's a different animal, especially in steeplechase. It always is different. But in steeplechase, it is absolutely ferocious. It is so hard to go your fastest possible. Not just race and hang, but to like be so tired that you're like barely getting over the last barriers.
Yes, and you saw that. I'm not going to tell you who it was yet, but the winner of the race stumbling across the finish line because she was so tired. Like the actual finish line photo, she looks like she's falling. She doesn't fall, but she looks like it. So 5 women ran under 9 minutes in this single race, which is, by the way, the most ever in a single race in the women's steeple. Yeah. 4 was the previous best, which was at the Paris Olympics, by the way, last year, which was crazy when Winfred Yavi, the Olympic champion, set an Olympic record in order to win that race, and 3 other women ran under 9 minutes. So like 5.
8:50 or something.
Yeah. 5 ran under 9 here, including Nora Geruto, who this is the best she's looked since her world championship victory. Recall that she actually was initially banned, but then her ban was reversed on appeal. And so she was found to be not culpable, and then had an injury shortly after that. And so she had a stretch there. Given that her world championship title is now 3 years old, it's been a little bit since she's been on top of her game. Well, she ran 8:58, looked great. Sembu Almayu of Ethiopia in 4th place also looked great. She ran her first ever sub-9 and a personal best. And then you got the big 3. Let's talk about them. Chirodich ran by far the most tactically sound because she just didn't do any of the upfront work. She let Yavi and Chemutai do all the driving, keeping the pace, pushing when they were starting to lax a little bit, and Chirodich just followed, stayed calm and collected. It looked like basically she was just going to wait until the last lap and then punish them for doing that extra work. Didn't exactly happen that way, but when it came time for the big moves, Chemutai was trying to lead it, didn't quite have the magic. So Yavi was the one who took off like a rocket, but Chebet was right there ready for the chase. However, in a stunning turn of events, as far as the season goes, Chebet couldn't reel her in, and Yavi just maintained this little gap and held it all the way through the line, missing the world record yet again by under a second. This is the second time Yavi has run close to the world record without breaking it. That's got to be tough. An 8:45 is no joke in the women's steeplechase, and yet not even a personal best for Yavi, who has run within 700ths of the world record previously.
Wow.
Yeah. But Faith Chebet was awarded with a personal best in second place, running 8:48 for world number 4. The only people who have run faster than her are Yavi and Chebet, both in this race, and the world record holder, Beatrice Chebet. So Chebet finished in third in 8:51. That is the fastest 1-2-3 in a steeplechase ever. It's an incredible race to see. Further down in the standings, Gabby Jennings of the United States ran a personal best 9:06 for U.S. number 5 all-time. Alemnet Wale ran a personal best 9:06 right next to her, and Kaylee Mitchell of the United States ran a personal best 9:08 for U.S. number 7 all-time. So kind of an interesting mix-up, because you also had Courtney Wayment and Val Constein of the United States in the race. Neither of them performed terribly well, though both of them are ranked higher than Gabby Jennings on the all-time list. And so you've got some new, younger talent in the United States steeplechase scene continuing to improve also.
But to go back to the stumbling, because we didn't actually
forgot to
wrap that one up. Yeah, it was very obvious that Yavi was running as close to her potential as possible, because she was stumbling, and it was a little nerve-wracking to watch her finishing the race, because you're like, is she going to stay upright?
Yeah.
I mean, her forward motion was intense. And then okay, never mind. We're not there yet.
Oh,
okay.
Is there more to say?
No.
Okay. You wanted to talk about the fast finishing stuff. Yep, that's coming. All right, so the penultimate event for the meet, or at least in the distance races, was the men's 1 mile. And now I should mention there was actually 2 heats of the men's mile, one earlier in the day and one later in the day. The Bowerman Mile, the famous Bowerman Mile, was the feature event, but they ran an international mile earlier because there's so much talent in the mile right now, and you need to have more opportunities.
Yeah.
The Bowerman Mile can only fit like 12 people in it, and so you need, how can we get more people racing? So they had another heat, and while it didn't, feature the best of the best, these were incredible people.
Well, there's some that could be the best of the best, depending on the day.
So we have no idea in the United States right now who Team USA is really going to be for this World Championships. I mean, clearly Yard Naguse, who has been performing the best of the American milers this season, has a good bid for it. But Cole Hocker is always good championship season.
I mean, he's an Olympic champion.
He is the Olympic champion, but also Cole Hocker routinely looks not great early in the season, because when he's peaking, he seriously peaks hard. And so we've got months before the World Championships, which means this isn't the time to be in your best possible shape. And so that may in fact be the case right now. Either way, that doesn't include the likes of this B Heat race, which was won by Ethan Strand, formerly of University of North Carolina, who now is running professionally for Nike, signed his contract. He won the race in 3:48, which is like his third time running 3:48, and yet not a personal best. Vince Ciatti of the United States, who's just been looking great this season, was second in 3:49. And then Gary Martin, the young collegian out of Virginia, running 3:49, also not a personal best. So he's just one of those miler talents that's just been really impressive.
But to think about like his improvement from his senior year of high school, barely breaking 4 to 3:49.
Although we said it at the time, when Gary Martin ran sub-4 as a high school runner, one of those rare, there's only 25, 26 of them so far, 27 maybe now. When he ran that, he was the one who did it under the most difficult circumstances.
Right, he's all by himself at a regular track meet.
It was like
no
his high
pacers.
school conference meet. And just by himself, he just went out and ran sub-4. And it was like, this guy he's real deal.
Yeah.
This guy is real deal. And he's been showing it this year as a national champion from Virginia, anchoring their championship DMR, which was an incredible feat, and coming back and finishing top tier in multiple events. So Gary Martin was third. Owen Powell, the high schooler out of Washington, was apparently going to attempt Alan Webb's high school record, which is absurd, 3:53. He came up short, but he did run another sub-4, 3:58. There aren't very many high schoolers who can say they've done that multiple times, and yet he has. And then another kind of bummer was the Kiwi teen sensation, Sam Ruth, just missed running sub-4. His personal best, but 4 flat. So that's always a bummer. Not an epic sub-4. As
but at least
16-year-old.
Honestly, though, under that kind of pressure and that kind of stadium with that kind of experience, sometimes kids blow up. Well, anyone under that kind of pressure. So the fact that he still ran a PR, almost got there, I'd say that's a win.
Yeah.
But to be so close to that barrier, I understand why that feels.
I cannot recall what the youngest sub-4 mile is. But he only turned 16 a few weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
So he's not far off of it if he runs sub-4 in a race like this. That's pretty cool. Bowerman Mile then. Let's talk about the big leagues. Sensational. What an exciting race. World record attempt, apparently, although it didn't seem like a serious world record attempt, because when the pacer went out and the lights went out, Yared Nuguse was the only one who went with him. And so everyone else almost looked like they were caught off guard. Like, did they actually know it was going to be a world record attempt?
Or they did, and they knew that they couldn't go with it.
Well, and this is what you realize right away. You realize that it was a choice, clearly, for most of the runners, except a couple who probably didn't want to have to chase the world record, just wanted to like ride the train, but were hoping the train would be faster. And so Azzedine Hobbs realized, the French sensation, who is the world leader right now in the 1500, realized late that no one was going with Yared, and he wanted to. And so he had to try to make up that space, which he just basically spent the rest of the race fighting to catch up, which is not the way you want to do it in a mile. Not at all. So very unfortunate, because that may have ended differently for Hobbs if he would have been with Nuguse out of the gate. But he was not. So it ended up being a whole lot more interesting, though, than you thought.
Super interesting.
The announcers even said, no one's catching Yared, or Nuguse, whatever they said. He's just going out there. And then later on, the race announcer was like, well, I have to bite my words. Because here's what happens. Nuguse and Hobbs go, and they're on world record pace for the first half. They start to slow. Nuguse in particular starts to slow in the third lap, and so loses touch with that world record pace, and yet still a significant lead. With a lap to go, the race was guaranteed to Nuguse. Like, there's just no way anyone makes up that gap. It's too significant. Hobbs clearly doesn't have it because he couldn't quite maintain contact, and Nuguse is just out in front. But as time goes on, as that last lap unfolds, and you start to wonder, is he struggling too much? Did someone make this happen? And with 200 to go, the two who give chase are none other than teenager Cam Myers out of Australia and 20-year-old Niels Laros out of the Netherlands. Both some of the youngest sensations on the scene right now. And they're the ones making up the gap. And you start to see them kick, and you're like, oh, those guys both have nasty kicks. Is it possible?
It didn't look like it, even with 200 to go. It did not look like it.
But here's what happens. So Cam Myers didn't end up holding his kick, and it was actually Cole Hocker who overtook him for fourth. Azzedine Hobbs continued to fade, ended up in third. Down the home stretch, with 100 meters to go, Niels Laros was like a tornado storming down that track. And for some absurd reason, both Hobbs and Nuguse drifted out of lane 1 and gave Niels Laros the highway to hell straight down to the finish line, where with one step to go, he caught Nuguse on the line.
Like photo finish.
Nuguse thought he won the race, did the fist pump and everything. Niels Laros is looking at Nuguse as he crosses the line while Nuguse is fist pumping, and Laros has that look on his face like...
He wasn't fist pumping.
Yes, he was.
He was?
Yes, he was.
I don't remember that.
and Laros knew that he beat him. It was the craziest thing.
It was crazy.
So exciting.
We say it all the time here when we're talking about track, but hug the line.
Hold the line.
Stay on the inside. Because if either one of them would have done that, the sidestep would have taken too much.
Yep.
And Yared Nuguse would have won.
Yep.
But he had inside lane.
So, Niels Laros winning the Bowerman Mile. His coach said he was a very special boy, and and apparently proved to be true. He set a new Dutch record in the process. Nuguse finished second. Hobbs in third in a French record. I should say Niels Laros ran 3:45.94. Azzedine Hobbs, French record, 3:46.65. Cole Hawker was best of the rest in 3:47, and a personal best for him.
Great.
So we say he's not in top form, but really, he's still running.
He is in top form.
Still running
some
great.
ways.
Well, in some ways.
It's just the kicking, like in the race, getting in the mix.
Yeah. 8 men. Count it. 8 men under 3:48. That is insanity. That includes those 4 mentioned, and Renaud Chariot of Kenya in a personal best. Cam Myers of Australia, who has run under 3:48 before, which is just weird to think. Timothy Chariot of Kenya in a personal best.
Yeah, Timothy Chariot. Yeah. Okay, I like to see that because he's been doing this thing for a long time. So to see improvement is encouraging.
He has, but he's still young enough that like he's got more to improve. Like he's still like what, 29? I mean, he's not that old.
He's been on the scene for a long time though, and sometimes there's plateau. So
yeah. Well, Jake Whiteman of Great Britain, the Scot runner, ran a personal best. Remember when he won the world championship?
Yes, I do. I remember it vividly. Yes.
And it was like shocking.
Yep.
And then he just has never been quite that level since then.
Yeah.
But he's looking good again. He's healthy, which is the big clincher, and ran a personal best in the mile.
Oh, good for Whiteman.
Yeah, that's looking good. How about 9th place?
Grant Fisher.
Grant Fisher, my man, jumping down in distance. Fisher, who holds world records in the 3,000 and 5,000 indoors, the United States records in everything except the 5,000 that Nico Young stole from him just recently. Grant Fisher just ran a 10-second mile personal best. Did you know Grant Fisher's mile PR was from high school? High school was the last time he ran sub 4 in the mile. Well, he just said, how about we change that, and ran 3:48.
That's amazing.
He is now only the second runner ever in the world to run under 27 minutes in the 10,000, under 13 minutes in the 5,000, and under 3:50 in the mile. Mm-hmm. Can you name the only other runner to have done that?
I'll give you 3 seconds to guess. 3,
and go ahead.
2, 1. Yamif Kejelcha.
Yamif Kejelcha, the Ethiopian sensation, who his 5,000 is world number 3 or 4 all time. So Yamif Kejelcha, incredible performer. Oh, I say that, but I think he's actually world number 4 or 5. But anyway, that's incredible. 13 men ran under 3:50. 13.
Snap.
8 out of the 15, over half of the field, ran personal best times. That is the Bowerman Mile for you.
That is a good race.
That's a great race.
Well, this one is just as exciting. I mean, I feel like every one of these races have been a thrill to talk about, but this one in particular
there's a reason
conversation.
There's a reason they closed the meet with the women's 1,500.
Yeah. So this is another world record attempt with no surprise because Faith Kipyegon is in it. So of course it's a world record attempt.
She's broken the world record each of the last 2 years. Why not make it 3 in a row? Go for the hat trick.
So she's going for it, but she's not the only one who's going to ride that light train. We also have the likes of Jessica Hall chasing the light train. And I do want to give a special shout out to Sage Herta Klecker, who was the pacer for this world record attempt.
Excellent pacing, by the way. It was flawless. Herta Klecker went out right away, got in front of everyone, and then didn't create a huge gap, but settled exactly into pace without disrupting any runner, and yet without having anyone have to make up the gap. And so Faith Kipyegon, who went right up behind her, basically just got to ease into world record pace with the pacer right in front of her the entire time. I've never seen a better start to a pacer's duties than what Sage Hurdeklecker just did.
Bravo.
Really well done.
Bravo, Sage.
So how did it go?
Yeah. Well, I have to say Jessica Hall and Faith Kipyegon weren't the only ones
Yes.
to ride the early train. Deribe Wichelci also joined her, and that was not a surprise either.
No, although this was significantly beyond Welteji's previous best performance as far as the pace. And so while that doesn't seem too attainable, you could say, Welteji has looked phenomenal all season.
Yeah.
So no surprise that she's going to go for it.
Well, especially because a lot of times they just go for it and then they see what happens. That's kind of that's kind of it for these Diamond Leagues, because all of them are such world-class athletes that they take chances and they go for things that they normally wouldn't just logically.
Let us not forget, when Jessica Hall went with Faith Kipyegon last year in her world record attempt performance, it ended up with an Oceania record for Hall. So it was not a bad gig for her by any stretch.
Right. Well, and I think it's also good for Faith Kipyegon to have someone on her heels.
How did it end?
Maybe that's what they got wrong in the Nike thing. She needed chasers, like actual real chasers. She needed a real race. Not like a pacer. She needed someone like legit coming after it.
Yeah, well, no surprise that the three of them were the only three to make the valiant effort. But when it came down to it, in order to get this record, a runner needed to run an insane final lap. And there's only one person who can do what it was going to take. And that is none other than your world record holder, Faith Kipyegon. So, with a lap to go, they were losing touch with the lights. They looked like they were struggling. But Faith Kipyegon turned it up. And with 200 meters to go, went into sprint mode, much like Beatrice Chebet in the 5,000, caught the pace lights in the final 100, and edged away from them to set a new world record, 1,500 meters, for 3:48.68, besting her previous time by under half a second.
I said this as I reflected about the breaking four, that I really think that she's a competitor. I really think Faith Kipyegon loves to race. You see it. She lights up. Like, I feel that she's a true performer. And so to have the sterile environment of the Breaking Four Nike project, that just wasn't her jam. I really don't think it is. And also, I think she likes to surprise and delight, like, the fans and then also herself. So to have such a high expectation for that Breaking Four was not a place that I think she'd really want to be. I don't know. Maybe I'm projecting about that one, but I do think that we see her come alive in a really positive way at the racing.
There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. And I think one of the big tells is that Faith Kipyegon, like competitors historically over the years, can run any type of race. And she runs whatever the race is that's needed to win. And so she's not a one-trick pony either. And that's one of the big dynamics here, is that you see Faith Kipyegon thriving in competition, but you see Faith Kipyegon craving competition. She moved up to the 5,000 in the Olympics last year to do the double because she wanted that competition. And then she got beat, and it probably just motivated her that much more. So it's interesting to think.
Well, it did, because then she came back and she got the world record.
Well, that's the third year in a row, so that counts for something. Faith Kipyegon has been winning global titles since 2015. Think about that a second. Since 2015, I think she's won all of them.
She had a couple years off because she had her child.
I mean, all the ones she's run, I think she's won.
It's very possible.
Since 2015, 16, somewhere around there. Now, so this includes, by the way, she has 3 Olympic gold medals. She's the only one to win 3 Olympic gold medals in the same event. It's consecutively, by the way. 2016 and then 21 with the delay, and 2024. And yet she, in that stretch of time, did not until 2023 finally break a world record. So she was the best in the world for years before she could get to the point of world record performance, which just tells you, one, how challenging these world records are, but also how competitive the scene is fundamentally, where you've got world record, championship performances, multiple athletes running world record pace throughout a race. Like, this is an incredible thing. And yet Faith Kipyegon still finds a way to win in one of the most competitive scenes in distance running history. That's incredible.
And what does she have to do to win? Run world records.
Well, in this case, yeah. Faith Kipyegon's final 200 meters was 28.8 seconds, which is incredible.
Very fast.
What's particularly interesting is that Beatrice Chebet's final 200 in the 5,000 was 28.8 seconds. The exact same final 200 split.
Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy.
That means that Beatrice Chebet is very fast. Like,
is
her
just
leg speed
as fast
is
of a kicker as Faith Kipyegon.
insane.
Which is, you saw that in the Olympic 5,000 last summer. That's why Chebet beat Kipyegon. Because everyone's watching Kipyegon in the 5,000 and thinking there's no way she doesn't win this unless someone outruns her, right? Just runs faster than she can run. Well, Chebet knew a little secret that the rest of us didn't know, which is she's just as good of a kicker as Kipyegon. And she showed it. Yeah. And that was really something. So here we have yet another example of how these two women, the reason they win so much is because they can do something that no one else can do.
Yeah.
So 11 women ran under 4 minutes, which is tied for the second most. You heard me say this last time around. Just recently, 11 women ran under 4 in a different Diamond League. There's just a lot of depth in the women's 1,500 right now, but only a few personal bests. And so fast times, but not quite, the absolute fastest. But who looked strong? Well, Georgia Hunter-Bell.
Yeah.
Definitely looking. I mean, she's a medalist for a reason. She's good. She's not to be overestimated or underestimated.
Under.
Thank you. Sinclair Johnson of the United States looked strong. She is kind of like fire and ice, which is kind of tough. She is good in some moments and then struggles in other moments. And when she shows up big. When she doesn't show up, she really gets crushed. And so we hope for more consistency out of Sinclair Johnson, but she's looking like on the better side of things lately, and that's boding well. But none of these women are winning medals if they can't keep up with Welteji and Hull, because Welteji and Hull are running fast.
There's a gap. There's a massive gap.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you got like your favorites for the medals are already spelled out. Well, Teji has won almost everything she's run this year, with the exception of this race because she couldn't beat the world record in this instance. Kipyegon wins everything, and so assuming Kipyegon's healthy at World Championships, she's going to win. This is just the assumption. But Jessica Hull has been one of the most consistent in the women's 1,500 in the world in the last few years, and it's unlikely that she won't be on the medal stand.
Well, and stuff always happens. There's always things that will jostle up what the standings will be. But from this race, it's like, wow, there is such a gap in between. And that's because this was a fast race. When I feel that the jostling occurs is when it is more tactical. So we'll see when it comes to championship, women tend to historically run faster for championship races, and it's not as much tactical for like the 1,500, whereas like men, it's often tactical.
Always just sit and kick. But there's X factors, right? And Jessica Hull is one of the X factors in the women's mile right now because she knows she can run faster than everyone except a couple of people. And so when she makes it a fast race, she guarantees her chance of a podium finish. That's what she did in the Olympics last year. Chances are she's going to do it again in the World Championships this year because she's figuring that if it's as fast as possible, then she's likely to be second or third.
Way more likely to.
She doesn't think she can win
medal
when Faith Kipyegon's in the race. She doesn't because she's never beat her. And so I have no doubt that Jessica Hull believes in her potential to win a gold medal. But in the same token, she also knows she cannot do what Faith Kipyegon can do in the last 400.
And she's probably working on it.
Just never been able to.
She's probably working on it.
I have no doubt about it.
Yeah. She wants to one day.
Right. So you just kind of wonder, what does the race need to be in each individual runner's mind? And you just get to find out. That's why we love championship racing. All right. Well, to start wrapping some things up, let's talk about some A to Z runners. We love coaching athletes, and it's just been a blast working with other runners in these last several years. And we're getting close to 10 years. We're getting close to 10 years of coaching athletes here, and it's been exciting. And that's why we love to share with you how the runners are doing, because A to Z running shirts are all over the place, and even if they're not wearing the shirt, a lot of times they're still coached by us, because that's the other thing I should probably say too, which is that we love the opportunity to support runners in other contexts than just like it's not our own group. And so we can coach runners who run for other groups. We can coach runners who run for multiple groups, join groups, be the case. Join group racing teams, join group runs, and all this kind of stuff. And it's just
elite
really
teams. It's a lot of times that is the case where,
exciting.
That you can choose whatever group that you're running with, and you want to be as fast as possible representing your group, and you got to get a coach for that. So.
Surely, and there's nothing new there. The pro scene, that happens all the time. You get runners running for the Under Armour Dark Sky team, but they're not coached by the Under Armour Dark Sky coach. They're coached because they have their own coach, and it's something else. That kind of dynamic has always been present in running, and we just love to be able to bring that to the local scene too.
Yeah.
So how did A to Z runners do this past weekend? Well, we had a number of different things and lots of impressive performances on what would be considered a kind of uncommon racing weekend. There's not as many events going on. The T-Rex 10 miler, which is a trail race famously held on the 4th of July, featured 2 A to Z runners in top spots. Erin was second in her age group, and Mary was top 3 in her age group as well.
Yeah.
Different age groups.
And then 5Ks, we had Violet, who won her 5K. Kate won her age group in her 5K, and Bill was second in his age group in his 5K.
And running some 5-mile races, I believe a debut for both of them.
In the 5-mile race?
In the 5-mile.
Possibly.
I haven't asked both of them if it was their debut. But Michael said, he's like, well, this race used to be a 5K. We've done it before, but they just changed it to 5 miles. So now I guess we're running 5-mile races. Cool. Michael and Cassie both ran the 5-mile race in this instance as well.
I mean, you assume that was on purpose, but you always wonder, like, is it a person who doesn't race and just like, ooh, 5K, 5 miles?
No. They knew it wasn't the same thing. But there you have it. So some A to Z runners doing fun things, lots of good stuff. We also got to run, as Andy said earlier, as a family. We ran a 5K. And so I raced it and then immediately turned around and ran. It was an out and back.
It was great.
And I ran back to where Andy was running with the boys to join them.
Yep.
And she helped run one of them in, and I helped run the other one in.
Perfect.
Lots of fun.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Time for AI trivia. Yeah. Anyone want to know what the score is currently? Because we're
brag about it. Boy,
we're
don't
gonna
you?
do no. We're gonna do. We have now a consequence.
Oh,
a loser's consequence. So Zach has 8 points. Andy has 6. It is a close match, but it's going to be tough to make up because the first to 10 wins, and then we'll just restart.
We're only doing 3 questions.
We're only doing 3 questions. It might, in fact, be the first to 10 right here, right now. Could happen. Although this is a little bit.
You planned it that way.
No, you picked the topic. All right. It's women's 5,000 meters. Let's welcome our special guest. If I can get this to work properly again. Hey, welcome. You are back on with the A to Z Running podcast audience. Please say hello.
Hey there, A to Z Running audience. It's awesome to be back with you all. I'm really looking forward to diving into some more fun topics and trivia with you today.
That's fun. The AI actually in the past has said A to Z because it's an AI with an accent from a different country. Apparently it changed how it's saying it now because it switched back. Okay, here is our topic for our trivia today. We're going to talk about the women's 5,000 meters, the history of the women's 5,000 meters. So we're talking about track for this event, track 5,000 meters. And we'd like you to give us a question with 4 possible answers, and we will try to guess the correct answer.
Absolutely. The women's 5,000 meters is such a great event. Here's your first trivia question. Who was the first woman to officially break the 15-minute barrier in the 5,000 meters? Here are your options. A. Ingrid Christensen, B. Paula Radcliffe, C. Sonia O'Sullivan, or D. Meseret Dafar. Good luck.
First sub 15. Do you have a guess?
I do.
3, 2, 1. Hold it up. Oh, wait. Who is that? Sophie O'Sullivan? I guessed Ingrid Christensen, the Norwegian. I think she's Norwegian. All right. We guessed number 1 and number 3. Which was the correct answer?
Great guesses from both of you. The correct answer is actually Ingrid Christensen. She was indeed the first woman to break that 15-minute barrier in the 5,000 meters. Well done.
Oh, thank you. What year did she do it?
Ingrid Christensen set that historic record in 1984. So it was definitely a groundbreaking moment for women's distance running.
All right. That's a good one. Okay, we need another one. Give us another question about the women's 5,000 meters on the track.
Absolutely. Here's another one for you. Which country has the most gold medals in the women's 5,000 meters at the World Championships? Here are your options. A, Kenya, B, Ethiopia, C, Russia, or D, the United States. Let's see what you think.
World Championships. Are you including the Olympics or not?
Good question. This one's just about the World Championships specifically, so no Olympics included in this count.
Okay, give us those 4 options again, please.
Of course. The options are A, Kenya, B, Ethiopia, C, Russia, and D, the United States. Let's see what you think.
All right, I have my guess. Do you have your guess? 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, you guessed Kenya. I'm actually guessing the United States. There was a serious stretch of time. I can't remember, is it Mary Decker, who was winning medals left and right?
Yeah, yes, that's
So that's
true,
why
but
I'm
I'm guessing.
Okay,
I'm
all right.
guessing because if you're doing...
One of our guesses was Kenya. The other one was the United States. What was the correct answer?
Well, both are solid guesses, but the correct answer is actually Ethiopia. Ethiopia has had a really strong history in the women's 5,000 meters at the World Championships.
Okay, neither of us gets a point this time. All right, give us one more question.
All right, let's do it. Here's your final question. Who currently holds the world record for the women's 5,000 meters? Here are your options. A, Tirunesh Dibaba, B, Letekembet Gide, C, Sifan Hassan, or D, Almaz Ayana. Good luck.
None of those are right.
None of them. You're teasing
Your
us.
records are not up to date. Because in fact, let me give you some trivia. I'm educating you now, AI. The women's world record in the 5,000 meters officially is held by Gudaf Sige, set in the year 2024 at the Prefontaine Classic. She did that running 14 minutes flat. However, that's the only the ratified record. The current unratified record, which likely will become ratified soon, is held by Beatrice Chebet, set on July 5th, 2025. So you need to update your AI records, huh?
Well, thank you so much for that update. I always appreciate learning something new, and that's really exciting. Both Gudaf Sige and Beatrice Chebet are absolutely phenomenal athletes. Thanks for sharing that knowledge.
Okay, give us a new question. One more question about the women's 5,000 meters.
All right, here we go. Let's try another one. Which athlete won the first ever Olympic gold medal in the women's 5,000 meters when it was first introduced at the Olympics? Here are your options. A, Gabriela Sabo, B, Messeret Defar, C, Tirunesh Dibaba, or D, Vivian Cheriot. Let's see if you know this one.
Do you have a guess?
No, I need the list
Okay,
again.
give us those options one more time, please.
Of course. Here are the options again. A, Gabriela Sabo, B, Messeret Defar, C, Tirunesh Dibaba, and D, Vivian Cheriot. Take your time and see if you can guess.
Okay, guess in 3, 2, 1, go. I don't remember the number, but my guess is Messeret Defar. Who would you guess? Who is that? Number 1?
Yeah, number 1.
Okay, our guesses are number 1, which is Gabriela something, and Messeret Defar. What was the correct answer?
Great guesses. The correct answer is actually Gabriela Sabo. She won the first Olympic gold in the women's 5,000 meters when it was introduced at the Olympics in 2000.
Okay. So, Andy still has a chance because now the current score is Zach with 9 points, Andy with 7 points, and we'll find out next time if Zach can get to 10 first. Okay, thanks for the trivia. Go ahead and say goodbye to our audience, please.
It was so much fun playing trivia with all of you. Thanks for having me, and I can't wait to join you next time. Keep up the great work and happy running, everyone.
All right, there you have it. Now, I have no idea why they have programmed AIs to take breaths and say and
You
now.
mentioned this last time.
Did I?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was the first time I noticed it because it's only fairly recently that I've been noticing it. But that's our AI voice pretending to be human, and at a minimum giving us great AI trivia questions. We're going to keep it up. You got to keep your own score. If you are playing along, which you must, because it's just that much better, let us know in the comments or in a direct message if that's easier for you what you are scoring. Did you beat Zach and Andy? We both only got 1 point.
I know, I'm a little
Today.
ashamed.
We regularly only get 1 point.
Well, at least you got to correct the AI.
Yeah, well, that should count. We should all get bonus points for correcting the AI, except I didn't want to do that because then that would mean that Zach would have already reached 10.
The only
We
one
gotta
in
give
that
Andy a
last one I
chance.
was like, for sure, no, was Vivian Chariot. I'm like, that's not Vivian Chariot. She's like a current runner.
Yeah, she's like 42.
Yeah, but I mean, the first ever 5,000?
Yeah, well, you're right to guess the name that was the most unfamiliar because all the other ones are a little bit too recent.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't quite sure when they started the women's 5,000 in the Olympics, so I didn't know what to go with.
Yeah.
All right, well, there you have it. Lots of exciting AI trivia ahead. We'll just keep the game going.
Yeah. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you again soon.